Hi, I'm Candace, the founder of Sufficient Grace Social Services, where our mission is to create awareness for the prevention of child molestation, child sexual abuse, and neglect, to help children to gain confidence and to find their voice, and also to help find healing from past sexual abuse and other childhood traumas through Christ. I just wanted to say I know I've been gone for like a while and I spoke about not doing that anymore. Um, but my reason for leaving this time wasn't necessarily because I didn't want to make videos. It was just because of scheduling issues and a lot of work that I've been going through. If anybody has watched any of my previous videos, I've explained that I'm in school for social work right now. And so this is my last semester of my bachelor's degree. And it seems like everything is like compiling all at once, and it's very frustrating. It's been absolutely frustrating for me. I lost my internship, had to find a new internship, and it's just been a lot of drama and just a lot. But I am very encouraged because I was thinking earlier that I never thought I would be at this place where I would graduate, get my bachelor's degree. A couple of years ago, well, it's been about 5 years now, I got my associate's degree, and I was like, okay, that's it. And before then, I was like, well, I wanted to be a massage therapist. I wanted to work with people, so I got a CNA, and like it was just like certificates and license and things like that. And I was like, well, I really don't need a college degree, but now that I am focused on um, helping children and helping people that have gone through trauma, I really wanted to learn a lot about trauma and learning a lot about helping people and helping children and figuring out how to avoid some of those traumas. And so I figured that going back to school was the best way to do that. Even though I'm the type of person that loves research, I love to read research. I don't like to read books necessarily, but like articles, journal articles, scientific articles, things like of that nature, I really enjoy, learning different things and how things work and situations like that. So I am the type of person that loves to learn, even though I am not the type of person that necessarily likes school. But sometimes you have to do things that you don't like to get something that you want. And I've learned that throughout my life because I'm the type of person that I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain it. I wouldn't call myself lazy, but I would call myself unmotivated about a lot of things. If it seems like it's not going to come easy to me, I am not motivated to do it. Maybe that is lazy. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about me. Well, I am here to talk about me, actually. We're going to continue our journey through my book of becoming me. I don't even know what chapter I'm on. I think looking for love in all the wrong places. I know I read that chapter. Uh Gosh, I don't even remember. It's been so long. I don't even remember. Crap. Uh oh, I think it's chapter 6. I don't remember reading this. So, chapter 6 is called Relationships Gone Wrong. Ooh. I've really, chapter 6 and chapter 7, um, I'm really not enthusiastic about reading, I have to admit. It was a very hard time in my life, and reliving it, my life has had so many hard times, but reliving situations like this is like, why? Why even go there? But I have to think about it like maybe I could help somebody to not go through the same thing that I went through. And maybe it'll help me to overcome this feeling, because it's kind of like a raw feeling when I'm reading things and when I'm talking about my past. It's like it hurts. It's a feeling of pain, like a full body, like just uneasiness. And I want to be able to get past that. I want to be able to talk freely about things, my mistakes, things that I've done in the past, things that I've learned from my past. But in order to do that, I have to get over this uneasy feeling that I feel when I talk about those things or when I think about those things. So going through this book and reviewing it is actually really good for me, even though it's like, I don't like it. But like I said, I have to learn that I'm not going to like everything I have to do. So there you go. So chapter 6, and it's like, it's it's a couple of pages. So I'm gonna try to get through this. If I can't get through the whole thing, I will split it into two. So it says, after I finished going to school for massage therapy, I decided to go ahead and finish my business degree at a community college in Chicago. At that time, and that's the degree that I didn't finish until 2017. So, yeah, it took me even then a long time. So, at this time, I was about 24 years old. Around that time, I felt that I was doing pretty well for myself. I was working as a massage therapist, massaging primarily family members, and I had a crochet business, which I love to crochet. But anyway, making different handbags, hats, and scarves. I was even working at my aunt's store from time to time. Everything was going well for me at the time. Then that old familiar feeling of loneliness started to set in. Lord Jesus, why? Why? Then I met someone new. Gosh, that seems like the story of my life, loneliness. And whenever I feel lonely, the devil got somebody right. He be right there, like right over my shoulder to come and mess up my whole entire everything. Gosh. It was very seldom someone catches my eye because no one ever really spoke to me. But on this particular day, while on a CTA bus, the bus driver started a conversation with me. He had just begun working the route that I took to pick my daughter up from daycare. We started talking every day, and I really started to like him. Joke. Around the same time, there was another guy that caught my eye, an art teacher at the junior college that I was attending. I thought he was very smart and very interesting. Actually, I did. Turns out he was a joke too. Anyway, at the time, I felt like everything was coming together for me. I was going to church, learning how to pray, and also having a relationship with God. But at the time, I still not did not know how to surrender my will to the Lord. Looking back in the so-called relationships that I had, I never asked God who He wanted me to be with or if I was making the right decisions. I never did. Didn't didn't even didn't want to know, probably because of the loneliness. I did not think at the time that God had anything to do with those things. But when they all went wrong, right? But when they all went wrong, I always look for God to help me out of the mess I had made. To this day, okay? Because I'm still making messes for myself. Oh, for another day. But anyway, I was still trying to figure out my own life and how I was going to get everything I wanted out of it. I was taking care of my daughter and living quite a drama free life for the first time in a long time. I guess I was getting bored. I'm sorry. This is hilarious. So I started talking to this bus driver guy, and eventually he told me that he liked me. I thought he was okay. Oh my gosh. Be, I just know what's coming. I'm sorry. Because he went to church and he talked about God a lot. After a while of talking, we started discussing dating. I let him know that I was not going to have sex until I was married. Well, just to say, well, just, just to say the least, he did not agree with that. He's okay. I could say a lot more on that. He made fun of me. He treated me bad because of my decision. He looked down on me. I mean, he would say, and and coming from a guy that claims to be a man of God, goes to church, he has status in his church, and he does this and that, and then, come to me and say, I'm wrong for wanting to wait to have sex until I'm married. It was kind of confusing to me. It was like I had never, I would think that a man of God, especially, I mean, maybe a guy that I just met on the streets, wouldn't care or wouldn't look at me. I mean, he probably wouldn't even give me the time of day. He would just keep it moving. This guy took it upon himself to try to make me feel bad about my decision, and that should have been a clear indicator to me to leave his butt alone. But of course, I didn't have self esteem at the time. So, yeah. So, let's see, where was I? Okay. Up to that point, he was really, really nice to me. But after I told him that, he started treating me kind of bad. He would tell me to call him, and then he would never answer the phone. Oh my gosh. He would set up times for us to go out, and on that agreed time and date, he would never come pick me up or answer his phone. It just all really messed with my head because when I would finally talk to him or see him on the bus, he would tell me how much he really liked me. Okay, and he was older. Like I said, I was about 24 at the time. He was um, in his 30s, about 35, 37, somewhere around there. And how I always think is, older people should be more mature than this. But as I've learned throughout time, thanks to my ex husband and many others that I've talked to, age is nothing but a number when it comes to maturity. Maturity is in the mind and in what you make it. Like you decide that you want to be mature. Age does not predict being mature at all. And I had to learn that the hard way. But anyway, let me move on. So he would also tell me how much he wanted to be with me, although he did not show it at all. I was about 24 at the time, and he was about 35. Okay. It was all too much for me to understand with my already fragile self esteem. The way he treated me really hurt. I mean, it really hurt. The way he portrayed himself as a man of God was very confusing to me at the time. I would say that we talked a good 3 or 4 months. I was so hurt and confused that I had to prove to him and myself that I was worth liking. I did that by pursuing the teacher who I had an interest in and soon found out he had an interest in me too. He found out that I was a massage therapist and he wanted a massage. Now this now that I know now, he was taking advantage of me because of his position. At the time, I didn't really see it that way. I just figured we were two adults. But this man was like in his 40s, pushing 50s, if not his 50s. Like he knew better. And I was a student. Like, you knew better, really. I didn't, but you did. And so, let me see. Um, I should just mention that by this time, the art class was over, which didn't matter. I was still going to the school. I offered to give him a massage, and I ended up going to his house for the massage. But I soon figured out that he wanted more than a massage. Yes, he did. He started trying to take advantage of me. Although I did not give in to his advances, I was very tempted. After the massage that day, we continued to talk, and about a week later, he asked me to go out on a date. It was a while before we actually went on a date, but in the meantime, we talked on the phone a lot. Over the Christmas holiday that year, my daughter and I went to stay with my sister and her family for a couple of weeks. Yeah. While I was there, I was still talking to both guys. The teacher was more of a friend, and I would get advice from him in how to deal with the bus driver who was still treating me like a jerk, big time. The bus driver guy, I did not, okay, well, I'm gonna just keep going, was still being rude and making fun of me for what for wanting to wait until I was married to have sex. He was a jerk, but I thought that eventually he would we would end up together. So I continued to talk to him. It's crazy because I wonder if I would accept something like that now. Because just full disclosure, I am not in a relationship right now, and I have not been in a relationship since I've been divorced. I've been divorced since 2017, actually. So it's been a while, and I wonder if I would accept something like that now. Like, would that be something I accept? And some days it's like I'm so lonely. It's like, oh my gosh, And sometimes I'm like, I would never. I would rather be alone than to go through that. But just a situation that I will touch on in the next chapter, which is entitled "My Husband." um, you know, Going back and forth with him has made me realize that I'm not going to take certain things anymore. I'm just not going to accept them. I'm almost 40 now, and it's like I've learned a lot in these past, I would say, past 7 or 8 years since all of this has happened. Before then, I was a mess. But since then, I've learned a lot, and I've learned my value a lot more. And even though I have accepted some things, I have to admit, it's some things I will never accept again. And this situation, I will probably, I can't never say never, but I will recognize it and try my best to not be in this situation again. So let me just keep going. And even if a guy tells me he likes me, actions speak louder than words. Plain and simple. You can't tell me you like me and then show me that you don't by treating me like crap. I'm definitely not going to accept that anymore. So when I came back from my sister's house, it was around New Year's Eve. The bus driver asked me to go out with him. We made plans and I waited for him all night, New Year's Eve, but he never showed up. I called him, he never answered his phone. Once again, he stood me up. He called me early the next morning on New Year's Day, and we were going to go out that day, and again, he never showed up. God bless you wherever you are. You know who you are. I hope you watched this. I hope you got everything you wanted out of life. But I really sincerely hope you figured out how to treat women. I really do. That's all I got to say about that because this is really pissing me off. Because I remember the emotions I felt at the time, and it was so hurtful, and I spent so much time crying and tears and depressed and wondering what is wrong with me that somebody would treat me that way, you know. And it wasn't just him. I was treated this way by a lot of people, and it's like, the common denominator was me. You know, I had to figure that one out. Um, Let me see. That was the last straw. I was ready to move on. When I spoke with the teacher about the situation, he offered again to take me out, so I took him up on his offer. That next Sunday, we went to Denny's after I got off out of church. Afterwards, he asked me if I wanted to go back to his house. Now, this situation, for a while, and I agreed. When I got there, he asked me if I wanted a drink. I told him that I don't drink, which I don't ever drink, but I did take the drink and took sips off of it. Um, this is hard for me to talk about or to even think about. We talked for a while and watched TV. Although I told him I was not much of a drinker, he kept insisting that I drink. Because of that, I made a joke that he was trying to get me drunk. Then he backed off of me drinking. In the meantime, he kept trying to kiss me and touch me, and I kept resisting. After a while, I was ready to go, but he would not let me leave. He already knew that I did not want to have sex until marriage, so he told me that if I had oral sex with him, he would take me home. All of a sudden, he started acting very agitated with me and started complaining that he had taken me out and spent money on me. By now, he began talking loud and acting really strange and scary. I can remember like it was yesterday. He was in my face. Now, his apartment, I don't know if I explained this in the story, but his apartment was a basement apartment. So, like, the windows was like this big. And you, like, we're underground. So, in order to get out, it's just one door. He had no back doors, just one door to the outside. And in order to get out, he was blocking my way. So I couldn't get to the door. He was a lot bigger than me, a lot taller than me. And he was acting crazy at this point. Like, I'm like, okay, this dude is going to murder me, is what I was thinking. So, at this point, I was starting to get very afraid. I was in a basement apartment, and I started thinking, if he killed me, no one would ever find me because no one even knows where I am or who I'm with. Yeah. So I agreed to do whatever he told me to do. I just wanted to go home. And after I agreed, he had me take off all of my clothes and he took them. He had me walk into his room and lay on his bed where he gave me oral sex. Then he climbed on top of me and raped me. I was in shock. I was so afraid that I did not know what to do. I guess that he had gotten himself so excited that when he raped me, because it lasted only 30 seconds and he was done. After he finished, he blamed me for making him come fast. He said it was because I was acting afraid of him. He kept getting more and more agitated with me. He told me that I had to play with his penis until he got ready to have sex again. Being so scared, I agreed. It was humiliating playing with his limp dick while he made me watch porn with him. He also made me suck his penis after he put performance enhancing cream on it, which did not even work. I'm sorry. It didn't even work. In fact, nothing was working. He got so mad, blaming the whole situation on me. I could look back at it now and laugh, but at the time it was like I thought he was gonna kill me. I thought he was gonna kill me. He had taken all of my clothes, everything. I didn't have any clothes. And forcing me to watch porn on this big giant TV in his room. And it's like he's sitting there making me manipulate his penis, and it was disgusting. All I could think to myself, well, at the time I was thinking to myself, just do what he says so he doesn't choke me out or stab me to death. But after the situation and I finally did get home, I thought to myself, look how far down, look how far I've gone. Like how did I even get there? How did I even get to a situation like that? It was so depressing. Like I talk about it more, but I was so depressed. I was so depressed after that happened. But let me just finish. So I kept on asking him if I could put my clothes on and go home, and he would not let me go. And when I tell you I was there Sunday afternoon, I did not get home till Monday afternoon. When I tell you he held me hostage overnight, I did not get home to the next day. Nobody looked for, I didn't have a phone at the time, or maybe the battery had ran down because I had a cell phone since I was like a sophomore in high school, but I don't know if he had taken my phone. I don't remember, but nobody knew where I was. My dad was watching my daughter because I was living with him at the time, and it was so scary. When I tell you, I can't even explain to you how scared I was that I was gonna die. Like I just knew he was gonna kill me. I knew he was gonna kill me. Gosh. I was sure he was going to kill me. My next words. Because of how crazy he was acting. The next morning, after trying everything I could, and I didn't sleep all night. We went through this all night. After thinking everything, wait, I could to convince him to let me go, I got the idea to act like I liked him, and I began to tell him that if he let me go home, I would come back and have sex with him again. He told me that if he let me go, I was going to accuse him of rape and have him arrested. I assured him that I would not, which I did not. I finally convinced him to let me go, and he gave me my clothes and drove me home. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. He had driven me to his house. On the way there, we made plans about when we would meet again. Once he dropped me off at home, and when I got in the house and knew I was safe, I called him and told him I never wanted to see him again. After that experience, I was a wreck. I was a wreck. I didn't get dressed for days. I had become so paranoid that I would not get get dressed or go off the couch for most days and for weeks at a time. I was convinced that he was going to come after me, so I tried to stay in the house as much as possible, and I did not return to school to finish my degree. I never went back to that school. Never. Like, as for a class, never. Mm-mm. I did not do anything for months. Right after I was raped, the bus driver guy called me and I told him what happened. He told me he would take me to the emergency room. I was so afraid at the time, I said I did not want to go. He told me I was making the whole thing up. I decided after that conversation that I did not want to talk to him anymore. I spent many months sad and afraid. Then one day, I had gotten in touch with a friend from high school and I told her what happened. And she told her mother. And just to explain, I explained it in the book. When I was in high school after my mom died, I had become real close to my friend's mother, and she cared for me as one of her own children. So when she heard what happened, she suggested I go to the doctor. Yeah, I love Miss Barnes. Miss Jack, well, my friend, I'm not going to say her name, but Miss Barnes is like one of my favorite people to this day. We don't talk anymore, but whenever we do see each other, she's like, yeah, I love her. But yeah, so I agreed and she went with me to the doctor to get checked out. I thank God that everything was fine with me. I went to the doctor 3 months after all of this happened. While at the doctor's office, the doctor asked me if I wanted to make a police report, and I said no. I really felt at that time that I was partly responsible for what happened to me. I think as a victim of child molestation and a victim of rape, you kind of go through that sometimes, feeling like, okay, I put myself in that position. But now thinking about it, as time this happened, I was 24 at the time. I'm old now, 39, about 15. Wait, no, 25 years ago. Wait, hold on. The math is not my strong point. Okay, but it was a while ago. Let me say that. Yeah, 15 years. But anyway, so um I know now that I it was not my fault. I did not go into his house and spending time with somebody and allowing them to spend money on you is not an invitation for them to rape you or take advantage of you in any way. And no means no. And he had already knew that I was not gonna have sex with him, and he obviously had this planned out. You know, so it was like at the time I thought it was my fault, but I know now it was not my fault. The doctor also recommended that I see a therapist, so I did. I saw a counselor 3 times before they told me that my insurance would not cover my sessions. I was disappointed. I was disappointed that I would not have someone to talk to, but the day before that happened was the day I had decided to go out for the very first time in a long time on my own. I told myself I would make eye contact with people and I would speak to everyone who spoke to me. I also decided that I would smile and feel happy. For and that was a big decision, big step for me. I was not out of my house more than 30 minutes when I met my future husband. And and that is the conclusion to chapter 6. Um, Next chapter is about my husband. Well, my ex-husband now. We went through a lot, and it's in the book. But I love him. It doesn't matter to me. I'm a forgiving person, and he still takes me through a lot. But I see the good in everybody. We're not together. I kind of regret getting divorced, but I understand it now. I understand that we can't be together, and it's okay. We have a friendship. We have a child together, so we're friends, and I'm fine with that. But just a little bit about the chapter that I read. it I've learned a lot since then. I learned a lot about myself and how I want to be treated as a woman, as a woman of God, as just a human being. And I recommend that anybody that's going through anything that happened in that chapter or any part of my book, please seek out help, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I wasn't led by the Lord, led by the Holy Spirit to go get help, to go get therapy, to talk to someone about these situations, because they're hard to navigate on your own. In fact, they're impossible to navigate on your own. So I encourage you to go out and to seek help, seek guidance that you can't come up with in your own head, because if you could, you probably wouldn't go through those situations in the first place. And like I always like to say at the end of all my videos, if you are a child, you shouldn't be watching this. But if you know of a child who has been or is being abused in any way, sexually, physically, child neglect, anyway, I urge you to call your local law enforcement agency, 911, or the National Child Abuse Hotline, which is 1-800 for a child, or your local chapters of child abuse hotlines. Um, and if you are a adult who has been through trauma of any kind, like I was saying, I urge you to please find someone to talk to about it, because the first step in healing is to get it out and just to release it. Talk to somebody, talk to someone you can trust with your information. You know, find somebody. There's people out there that are like me, going to school or in the profession of helping to have people work through traumas, or it can be like a a pastor, a friend, somebody that you can trust. I'm glad that I had my friend from high school's mom, who I consider a friend, there to help walk me through that situation, because, like I said, it had been 3 months since it happened before I even said it out loud to anybody. And it's like, she really held my hand and walked me through it. She didn't judge me or anything. She just was there. And I encourage everybody to find somebody like that in your life that can just be there to help you in your time of need. And with that, I thank you all for taking a little time to listen to my story today. And as always, be blessed.